So now, O son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, thou shalt hear the word of my mouth, and warn them from me.
Have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Middle Tennessee and examining current events from a biblical perspective, this is Bible News Radio with your hosts, Randall and Stacy Harp.
Okay, hey everybody. I want to welcome you to today's edition of Bible News Radio. Did I point at you on time? People. Anyway, hey, you guys, tonight we have a very special, very distinguished man who is our guest. And if you don't know who he is, well then, hey, you came to the right place. You know why? Because I'm going to tell you who he is, because he is one of my favorite people in the whole world. Of course, he doesn't know that until now, just so you know. And who is it, you might ask? I'm waiting. Have you asked yet? No, you haven't. Okay, well, anyway, I'll tell you. It is Chris Fabry. Now, if you guys know anything about Christian radio, then you know this guy, because he has won awards, like a lot of them. Like, you know, tons of awards. In fact, you'll see some of his awards as soon as we put them on screen, right? But tonight, we are here because today is the release date of his brand new book. It's called Under A Cloudless Sky. Yeah. Doesn't that give you a picture of a sky with no clouds in it? Yeah, but we'll find out tonight. Is that actually what this book is about? The sky and clouds? Is Chris Fabry really a weatherman at heart? We'll ask him that and more tonight. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, what we are going to talk about is we're going to talk about the book, but I should also tell you that Chris is not only an award-winning radio talk show host, he is actually also a Christie Award-winning author. He has authored 80 books, people. 80! That's 8! 80! You know how many words that is? It's got to be 5 million words at least, I would think. I don't know. We'll ask him that too. Anyway, his radio show, it airs over on the Moody Radio network, and all his books you can get on Amazon. You can learn more about him if you go over to chrisfabry.com, right? And it's Fabry, I think. It is. Anyway, so without further ado, Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thanks, Stacy, for a wonderful introduction.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome. I made it up. Well, I highlighted your highlights, which, you know. Have you ever thought about doing a low light reel? That would be real, right?
The worst moments of my career. Oh, I've got many of them. Yeah, I was on the back of a little country station that I started work on. I was at the back of a flatbed truck calling the play-by-play of it was like a Christmas parade. And between me and the parade was a guardrail. So I couldn't read anything about who anybody was. And I spent about 2 hours just talking about how cold it was outside.
So because you shared that, let me ask you this. How did you actually get into radio and stuff? Because, you know, that's always to me, it's fascinating, you know.
Well, when I was a kid, I had a CB radio, and I was always writing these skits and poems and singing songs. And when I got into high school, I had a teacher who said, would you be interested in working with the distributive education clubs? And I said, what in the world is that? She said, well, you go to school for half a day, and then you go to work for half a day. And so I said, well, that sounds like fun. Where would I go? And she said, well, there's, this radio station, and this manager says that, he'll give you a job. So I learned everything at this little 5,000 watt station, from taking out the trash and cleaning up the bathroom and writing spots. And daylight till dark, when it would go off the air, then I would go in the production room and I would record those songs and skits and poems and call friends on the phone and play them weird stuff over the phone. So I kind of cut my teeth on that, just had such fun doing radio. Went to college, paid my way through college, working at the station, got into TV news, did a little bit of that. And after I graduated, I was married for 6 months, and my wife and I moved to Chicago and went to Moody Bible Institute, studied there for a year, thinking we would go into missions of some sort. And I stayed there and started my career with Moody Radio. And the rest is whatever it is, history or not.
Hey, I think that's so cool. See, everybody, now you all know. Now that I see some of you, let me say hi to you guys. Because, unlike real radio, which Chris is on, I can't see your faces. But, hey, Randall's here. Wait, that doesn't count. Actually, he's producing the show. Melanie, our #1 super fan, is here. And Patricia, a pillar of our community. And Dottie and Mia and Jeff, I feel like Romper Room. Angie and Michelle and a whole bunch of other people. You guys, thanks for coming in. And I'm just curious, I want to get a pulse here of those of you that I can see. How many of you have actually heard Chris's show or read any of his books? He's actually written 80 books. 80. The last time I had him on, Aaron. Hi, Aaron. Sorry, I thought you were Michelle, but I didn't want to say in case I forgot, because sometimes I do, because I'm at that age, just so you know. Anyway.
You're dating yourself with the Romper Room comment.
Yeah, I know.
Romper, stomper, bomper, boom. Remember that?
Vaguely. Okay, so all of these people... Okay, look. So, Chris, you have a new audience here, because these people are we're nope, never heard of you, never, nope. We're just tuning in because of you. But who is this Chris guy? Okay, so tell everybody... Okay, so if you go over to chrisfabry.com, and go ahead, do your opening for your regular show, because,
Well, I don't have the sound for Chris Fabry Live, but I just say at the Radio Backyard Fence, come on into the Radio Backyard Fence and join us today. I also say this is Love Worth Finding with Adrian Rogers. I also talk about Luis Palau, Reaching Your World with Luis Palau, and other and sundry things.
Yeah, see, and unless you know who Adrian Rogers is, you have no idea. Or Luis Palau. See, you guys, you have no idea the world that we're in. But Chris does. Okay, so tell us about your book, because it's called Under A Cloudless Sky. This is a novel, and it's about forgiveness and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. So,
the power of keeping secrets, too. That's one of the main themes of the book. It's also about taking the car keys away from your elderly mother, and the fallout of that when your elderly mother says, "You're not taking my keys." And the subtitle of this book, not on the book, but It's Gone Grandma, because Ruby's daughter takes her keys away from her mother because she's going to kill somebody. And so Ruby the next morning is gone. They don't know where she's gone. And the dirty little secret is Ruby has a 70-year-old secret that she has kept all these years, that if she keeps it to herself, everything is going to stay status quo. If she doesn't, if she reveals this, there are dominoes that are going to fall both in her life and in other people's lives in a little town called Beulah Mountain. And the reason the book is titled Under A Cloudless Sky is I have a great affinity for hymns. I think we're losing some of our moorings by jettisoning the hymns. Of course, now Martin Luther, when he wrote A Mighty Fortress, was a whippersnapper. That was a new song at some point too. So I'm not against new songs. I'm not against worship songs and the new stuff. But I see this this hole in the soul that we have by losing some of the life and theology that was lived out before us. And us standing and singing songs that I sang with my parents and that they sang with their parents. And there's an old gospel song, an old hymn called Dwelling in Beulah Land that just captivated me. And I'll read you some of the words. Far away the noise of strife upon my ear is falling. Then I know the sins of earth beset on every hand. Doubt and fear and things of earth in vain to me are calling. None of these shall move me from Beulah Land. So I had this idea of what if we called the town Beulah, and the little church there sang this every Sunday. Well, I learned that there is a town called Beulah, West Virginia, so I had to call it Beulah Mountain, which worked really well because of the coal mining motif. And each Sunday they sing this song. It is kind of their anthem for the town. And there are two little girls, Ruby and Bean, who sing this song every week. And this is 1933. 70 years in the future, you see Ruby get her car keys taken, and those two worlds, 1933 and 2004, come together with the story that I've put together.
Yeah. See, that touches my heart. I have to tell you that. Now, you don't know this, but I have, I pick my guests very carefully, but you're special. But I read what your book was about, and 3 years ago I was reunited with my dad, who lived in Florida. We went down to Florida. We rescued him. He's 40 years older than me. He was born in 1928. His fourth wife died. Yeah, all of his wives died before him. I wonder if there's a secret there. Anyway, my dad, I had to take his keys away, and it was hard because he didn't know me. He has dementia and stuff. And so, we went down there, we rescued him and really saved him from himself. And so when I read about what your book was about, at least that part, I was like, ooh, I gotta read this because of that. But just also the time frame you set this book up in as well, and the themes behind it, I think are also very intriguing, which not only makes you a great storyteller on radio, but also in writing. And I think that's super cool.
Well, I think I need to interview you, because every time I talk with you, Stacey, you give me ideas. We did a program and you talked about magnets on the refrigerator, and I made a program out of that. Now, you and your dad, his dementia, saving him from himself. My mom will be 91 in February. Okay. And so there are aspects of Ruby that are just the spitting image of my mother, who still lives in the little town that I grew up in. I call it Dogwood. And she's going to stay in that house. My dad died in 2011. She's going to be in that house. She doesn't want to go any place that would be, better for her. All of our ideas, no. And I was reading Sue Ann Campfield's book, The Sound of a Million Dreams. And in that, she had a friend who wanted to bring her 94-year-old dad to live with her. And it made total sense to her. But a doctor told her there are 3 things every soul needs to survive: to be known, to have purpose, and to be remembered. And the doctor said, if you take him out of that place, then you interrupt or you jeopardize all 3 of those things. And so what I learned through that process is that it's very much that same way for many of us who have parents who are older, and we're having to make some of these decisions for them because they can't make them for themselves. If you can let it be their idea, if you can let them come to this. And she has come to the place where she said, I realize I can't drive anymore. Yeah. But it was a struggle. It was a process that she went through. Yeah. It's better for them to have the idea than for you to impose it on them, take away their dignity, take away their freedom. And that's exactly what happens with Ruby. She has this secret. She has this thing that she wants to go back to find out about, to relive. And she's going to do that. Her kids know nothing about it.
Well, and I agree with you. I wholeheartedly agree with you on that. And I would love to be interviewed by you, actually. But I will say this, with my dad, he didn't know me because I was reunited with him after 40 years of not knowing him. And so it was kind of like we were led into the situation that God directed us to. And, my dad will be 90 in July. So, and he lives in assisted living now, and he's found another girlfriend. They're not married yet. No, they're not going to get married, because if they get married, she'll probably die, and then they'll be 5, So, but anyway, back to your book. So you have this great thing, just like in the War Room book that the last time I talked to you, which, I saw the movie, and then I did read your book there. And that was such a phenomena thing. What are you hoping for people in this book? I mean, because there's a lot of us. You and I are close in age. You're a little bit older. I was born in 1968. You were born in...
Just a little earlier in that decade, sure.
Yeah, so what's your hope? Because the generations, taking care of elderly people, your parent, but you got the topic of forgiveness. You have secrets. And one of the other intriguing themes I read about is that what God promises versus what he doesn't promise. Is that another theme?
Oh, absolutely. That kind of runs through everything I write, because it runs through my life. I see this difference between what I had planned and what he's doing, what I want him to do and what I think I need him to do and what he's doing. And there's always this chasm between the two things, and trying to figure out, how do I get from here to there, or does he want me here or there? I think one of the things I really want to open this dialogue between those different generations, so that they can talk openly about this. Mom, did you read this? What did you think about that? What's going on? To open that dialogue, but also the secrets. Because here's what happens with me, Stacy. I'll get on the radio and we'll be talking about sometimes we talk about some deep things, some hard things, abuse in the past, perhaps. I'll get a phone call from a female who is in her 60s or 70s or even 80s. And she'll talk about this thing that happened way back then. And you can hear in the voice, you can hear the tremble in the voice, you can hear the emotion in the voice as they talk about it, and they're right back there. And then I will ask, who have you told that to? And not without fail, but a good percentage of the time, they will say, this is the first time I've ever told that story to anybody. And I'll think, on the radio, what a privilege to share in the vulnerability of that moment, but also how sad to be trapped by this information that has hung over your life and in some ways, held you back, shackled you. This is the thing about Ruby and her secret. If she had told this earlier in her life, what might have what could have happened in her relationship with her kids? You see all this work out. But the beauty of it is when the secret comes out, when she thinks this is going to, lead to a terrible thing, it doesn't. It actually leads to life. It leads to redemption. It leads to reunion. And I think some of those things that we fear most about our secrets and the unveiling of them, we shouldn't fear, because if God is in it, he's going to bring something good out of it. And so I hope every reader, reads that and asks the question, what secrets do I have that could lead to some of those good things?
You know what? You don't know why I'm laughing, but I'm going to tell you why I'm laughing. My audience probably knows why I'm laughing. Hey, you guys know why I'm laughing, right? You know what I'm going to say, right? Chris, one of the things that I do for fun is I create Bible type courses. And the very first one that I put together, I put a video course together called Stop Lying to Yourself. Your Secrets Aren't Secret. Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you, I've been trying to get people to buy this thing because in my study of the Word of God and what this is all about, that's the exact, what you just said is basically the gist of it. Right? And I can tell you, and you already know this, when people call and they confess their stuff to you on the radio in front of everybody, there's a false sense of intimacy between a radio host and an audience. It feels more real than it really is, right? And people feel generally more close to you than you probably do them because there's a lot more of them. But the thing is that, like, even when I was doing therapy, people will come in and they'll tell you your one-on-one story, but every client, I don't care who it was, they could have been dressed to the hilt, they could have had, high school diploma versus a doctorate or whatever. Everybody has the same issue. Everybody. And it's just what you said, and even Oprah always says stuff like this. They want to be validated. They want to be known. They want to be loved.
Be heard.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's what I like about your books, because you actually write all about that stuff, and it's so cool.
There is a scene that you've got to read in the book between a character named Hollis and Juniper. And Hollis is saving the mountain because he made a promise to his parents that, he wouldn't let the coal company get this place. This is the one place that's going to stay. And in 2004, there was a lot of strip mining that was being done around this fictional area. And so he really has to stay. But Juniper's health is declining. And so he's between a rock and a hard place. He wants to love her well. He wants to provide for her. And he wants to keep the promise to his parents as well to stay on the land. And so they have this conversation that basically goes right along with what you're talking about. And I so agree with you about the false intimacy. I don't know if false is the right word, but there is a certain sense of that I can be intimate in a conversation with people on the radio, them being vulnerable and me asking the questions that probe, and then, getting to some emotional point, and then turn off the radio and go with my family and be, plastic, not vulnerable at all. It's much easier to get paid and be vulnerable on the radio than it is to do that genuinely with the people that you care most about, and that your dog looks at you, your dog sees who you really are. And so I think that's the trick, or the question: can you be the same person you are on the radio that you are off the radio? And I've had some good mentors in my life who have been that to me, who have, when I talk with them off air, they're the same as they are on air. So I'm trying to every day integrate who I really am with who I project on the radio. At least I hope that's who I am.
We can give you a lie detector test.
Hook me up now.
Well, I can tell you, if you do live streaming, like what we're doing right now, by the way, if there's anybody new watching, hi. One time, Chris, I was in my car. We were going somewhere. I don't know where we were, but I have bad allergies because of living here in Tennessee, right? And right now I have a cold, which you guys all know. But my allergies tend to get stuck in my throat. And I get a lot of post-nasal drip. And I literally I was like, hey, everybody, how you doing? And I coughed, right? And the phlegm flew right out of my mouth, like right, so everybody could see it. And it was so embarrassing. But at the same time, it was funny because I was like, sorry about that. So if people see that, it's kind of...
That's the real stuff.
Yeah,
what
Jeff
you don't know is I shaved before I got on, came to do this. And I cut myself right here, and it was bleeding for like 45 minutes. I couldn't get it to stop. I think it's okay now. But if I look a little redder than normal, that's why.
How would we know what you look like normally? You're on the radio. But hey, and by the way, everybody, look, this is a radio talk show host on video.
And you told me before we went on that I look like Chuck Colson, right?
Yes.
And it's the glasses. and if I do this and you see the lines in the forehead, then I really look like Chuck Colson. Chuck Colson.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so I have A-list guest questions. Last time I was on here with you, I gave you the magnet question. I have a different one this time. You want it?
Oh, goody. Sure, yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I can't promise it's going to be profound, but I'll answer.
Okay, now this one was actually I found from a friend on Facebook. Okay, this guy I play pickleball with, and of course, do you know what pickleball is?
You play pickleball?
I love pickleball.
My father-in-law plays pickleball. Oh, there it is.
Yeah.
And he was born in 25, so he's 92. He'll be 93 this year. Still plays pickleball.
See, you actually know what pickleball is. See, there are people in the world, people that know. I'm going to write a book about pickleball and my faith. That's a true story. I'm working on it right now.
Do you have the title yet? Do you know what it's going to be?
I'm not sure. I'm thinking pickleball faith or lessons from pickleball that God can teach you. I don't know. I have to think about it. But it's definitely, there's a market for it for sure.
You'll have to do alliteration with all of the chapter titles. Perseverance, all the P's, pickleball, lessons, yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're saying in the chat room it's cool that you know what pickleball is. Okay, so I met this guy at pickleball, and he's actually a psychologist. He's a very observant guy. He's funny. And one day on his Facebook page, he asked this question I thought I'd ask you. Okay, it has to do with eggs. Do you like eggs?
Yeah, we used to have chickens before the coyote got them.
Okay. Well, sorry for your loss.
That's another program.
Okay, so it's kind of a two-part question. Okay, so when you take your eggs out of the fridge and you have them in a carton, and then you take them out in order to cook them, the first question is, do you rearrange the eggs after you take them out?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, and I have to be honest, no. I will sometimes turn the carton around where it's the heaviest so that the heaviest is in the back, but I don't switch the eggs around.
Okay, so yeah, some guys say, why would you? Well, I take them from the middle and then, whatever. Are you firstborn by any chance?
I'm in Kevin Lehman way. I would be a firstborn. I'm the thirdborn, but my brothers are 8 and 10 years older than I am. So really, I'm more of a firstborn than a baby.
Gotcha. I'm a firstborn middle child.
Okay.
Go figure. Okay. So the second part of the question is, after you crack the egg and put it into the pan and you cook it, what do you do with the eggshells?
Are you sure this is not a trick question? Are you sure
No.
it's not like the SPCA is going to come?
This is a serious question. You wouldn't believe the answers I've gotten on this.
At times we have put the eggshells. I never put the eggshells in the disposal, number one. Number two, there have been times when we have put them in the compost thing that we were doing, but we're not that adept at compost anymore, so I put them in the trash.
Okay, I'm laughing because those are generally all three answers that are given. I've had very few guests who actually compost because that takes too much time.
Right.
I've had people say, I do put it in the garbage disposal, and that used to be me until I asked this question and asked lots of people the answer, because who knew? All these years, I was destroying my garbage disposal, didn't know it.
Yes.
But the other thing is, just throwing them in the trash. Imagine that. And then there are people who actually take the eggshells and put it back in the fridge, inside the carton.
Why would you do that? Why in the world would you do that?
I don't know. People are weird, aren't they?
It probably makes you feel better about what you've done, or maybe it's an affinity for chickens themselves and you don't want it to go to waste.
I don't know. I've also had people say that they take the eggshells and they feed them to their dog because it's good for them.
Oh, wow. I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
What would Chuck Colson say to that? We'll not know for a while.
Yeah.
There we are.
Yeah.
Chuck Colson, sprinkler.
That's right. You put it up. Yeah, see, don't you? Doesn't he? Okay, put a 1 in the chat box if you think he looks like Chuck. I could say, what's up, Chuck? Sorry, I couldn't resist. Randall, that was classic.
That was quick too, Randall. Thumbs up on that.
Everybody is putting a 1. 1-ish.
What does that mean? Yeah.
Well, I'm just here. I'll show you. See, they're interacting here with us.
Okay.
There we are. See those hearts?
All those hearts. Yes.
That means they love us. But they're all, those are the people following me. I'm following back anyway. They're putting a 1 because I said put a 1 because it's easier. Just put a 1 if you think he looks like Chuck.
Okay. No, I get that a lot, and it's a wonderful thing. You could say a lot worse things about me than I look like Chuck Colson.
Well, I like Chuck Colson, so just so you know. All right, one last question, and then we got to have you pitch your book and stuff because that's really why you're here. Okay. So the other question is concerning driving. All right, because I'm being nosy. You have 9 kids, right?
That's true.
Wow.
And we've gone through all of the driver's ed except for the very last puppy, and he's 16 now, and it's close.
Okay, so concerning your driving, though, do you remember if you passed your test the first time you took it?
Oh, man. Are you sure you didn't ask anybody about this?
No, I didn't.
Failed. The written test was fine, except I didn't have my glasses at the time, and I borrowed somebody else's and just barely passed that one. But the written test was fine. It was the driver's test that I failed. And I went with a group of kids from our driver's ed, and we're driving this tank. It was a Ford tank line or whatever it was. And so the state trooper is in the right-hand side. I'm driving. The other female passenger is in the back waiting her turn. And we come to the end of the state police thing where you turn right, and there was an older woman crossing the road. And she crossed the road, and the trooper said, just wait right here until that's fine. You know, I can wait here all day long. And she gets to the middle of the road, and something happens that I cannot tell you what happened, but I will tell you that there was a state mental hospital across the street, which is where she was going. And when she stopped in the middle of the road, it was just this surreal event that happened with her. And we're both, all three of us are in the car I'm thinking, what just happened here? And it was all over by that time. I went up parallel park, came out, backed into she failed me, and she should have. And the driver's ed teacher said to me, I thought, you know, you're one of my best students. I can't believe that you didn't pass that. And I said, well, you didn't see what I saw. You didn't experience what I experienced with that. It was just still traumatic to me. You don't know what to say, do you?
Well, you're not the first guest that has shared a traumatic experience with this question. I'm thinking I should probably nix this question. People are like, wow, speechless. They're literally saying that in the chat room. But apparently you still drive, right? You drive now?
I do, and I've decided to drive the speed limit too. And you do not have any idea how mad people can be at you for driving the speed limit. It's just, you know, and I'm tired. This is one of the things that I've said, you know what? This is not something that I'm going to compromise anymore. I'm going to drive the speed limit. And if you want to go around me, you go right ahead. It's okay with me. If you are in a really big hurry, most of the people I catch up with about, 3 or 4 minutes later at the stoplight. But there it is. I'm becoming an old fuddy-duddy.
Well, I actually do drive the speed limit. I've never had a speeding ticket.
Really? Never?
Never.
Ever?
Never.
Wow.
But I have had a ticket twice for unsafe passing.
Oh.
Actually, one was for unsafe passing. The other one was this is a true story. Okay, I was driving. I had gotten I was at college in a parking lot. Somebody ran into my car, and it injured me. Well, it wasn't a bad, huge injury. It was just, anyway, I had to put my car in the shop. So I rented a red car. And one night I was on my way up to a Bible study. And you know how the streets they go and they have the left-hand turn lane and they got the lines painted, double painted. So I went over before the dotted line to get into the left-hand lane. And there was a cop that pulled me over and gave me a ticket. And this was years ago. I mean, this was the last time I got a ticket. I went to traffic school because this was in California. I don't know if they do it other places, but I went there, and the police officers leading traffic school said, how many of you are here for a speeding ticket? Every hand went up except 3 people. I was one of the 3. And that person said, okay, the 3 of you, what are you guys in here for? And so I told what I was there for, and that person said that cop needed a quota. That was the only reason you got a ticket.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's what I was wondering. What, was it the 15th? Was it the 30th?
I don't know, but I was mad about it. Yeah, the cop must have been bored. But anyway, all right. So technically our interview is over, and You're so sweet and lovable. It's hard to let you go. But I want you to go ahead and pitch your book, Under A Cloudless Sky, and anything else you want to share with our audience. I'm sure they'll be happy to hear it.
Well, that's very kind of you, Stacy. I guess my MO, my modus operandi is to try to get you to participate with every program that I do, with every book that I write. And in this case, I want you to try to figure out where Ruby's going, where Gone Grandma is, why she's going there, what the secret is, who these characters are and how they interact with each other through, the 2 time frames, 33 and 04, and why that's important. So I'm hoping if you read the first chapter, you'll be hooked and you'll come into it. Just like with this interview, you hook them with the eggshells and